up, guys? Forsaken is revealing a lot more than expected, including a new concepted Dignity variant, a Forgotten skin finally getting updated, and even Gubby milestones. Let's get into it! There is actually one skin that a lot of people have completely forgotten about, and it hasn't even been mentioned since the last sneak peek, and that is the Dignity skin. This is one of those skins that has been on and off for so long that at this point, no one really knows if it's even going to release anytime soon. It's been stuck in this weird limbo for over a year now, where it gets teased, then disappears again, and then nothing really happens with it. But even though we haven't had anything official, people in the community have started making their own versions of what Dignity could look like if it actually came into the game. One of the best versions we've seen so far was made by Leonardo, who works with VFX and GFX. With Leonardo first showcasing an idle animation of his concept of Dignity, which mainly focused on the visual effects, and it was clearly inspired by the older version of Dignity's design. Since then, Leonardo has actually gone further and fully completed their version of the skin, and it looks way more refined now. It still keeps that same core effect from the original concept, but everything about it just feels darker, more intense, and honestly a lot more unsettling. One of the most noticeable details is that you can actually see Dignity's heart, while his Void Star starts rotating around on its own when he's in the idle animation. It gives off a really eerie feeling, and overall the effects just look insane. This was just made for fun, but with how this looks, it wouldn't be surprising if the devs get inspired by how this looks. A lot of people in the community have already been saying that this looks incredible, and some are even joking that it looks better than what we usually see in Roblox Studio. So the main problem now is whether we're actually going to hear anything about Dignity before the Azure update. There's still a chance we could get some kind of announcement or even another sneak peek, especially since this skin has been missing for so long. And alongside all of these updates, we're also finally starting to see more redesigns and themes being worked on. And one of the biggest ones people have been waiting for is the Savior Cool Kid skin. For a long time, this skin has felt like it was just left behind, but now we finally have some new progress on it. We've actually been given a sneak peek of its upcoming chase theme, and from what we've heard so far, it already sounds like a huge improvement. This alone shows that the skin isn't just being ignored anymore, and it's finally getting some proper attention. But what makes this even more interesting is that it might not just stop at the chase theme. There's a good chance that this skin could also get a full redesign to better match what it was originally inspired by, which is Dust Belief Papyrus. Right now, the skin doesn't fully represent that theme yet, and that's something a lot of players have pointed out. Now that we got a snippet, it feels like they're starting to move in the right direction, and there could still be more changes coming that we don't even know about yet. If they do go through with a full redesign, it could completely change how the skin looks and feels in-game, especially if they decide to add new animations alongside it. A lot of people in the community are already happy just knowing that this skin hasn't been forgotten, even though there are still other things people are waiting on, like the milestone for Cool Kid theme. But overall, it's a good sign that older content is finally getting updated instead of being left behind. So if this redesign does happen, it could definitely be worth the wait. What other skins deserve this treatment? So Forsaken just dropped a pretty weird update, and honestly, a lot of players are confused about what the point of it even is. They've added a bunch of new VIP skins, mainly focused around Gubby, and these are basically milestone skins. But instead of being anything major, they're more like joke rewards. The main thing about them is that they just show different amounts of pancakes on Gubby with every milestone. There are no custom animations, no special effects, nothing like that. They're literally just there for fun. So luckily, you don't have to grind for them, and just for having VIP, you will get them for free. Then there's another skin added called the Gubby Storyteller skin, which is actually based on the TBS narrator. This skin also does not have any custom animations and is just another reskin. There is actually another secret skin that isn't available to VIP players and instead is a dev-exclusive skin, which is the Gubby Samurai skin. This is based on the Martyr skin from Battle Bricks, but this skin will not be coming to VIP players, it seems. We really did get Gubby milestones before Nosferatu's bra. Recently, a lot of polls have been happening in Forsaken, with Toko and others wanting to know what players think about the game and to gather feedback from the community. Some of this has even brought attention back to a killer that was scrapped and hasn't been seen since the early days of Forsaken, Sonic.exe. Sonic.exe was a fan favorite and many people loved seeing him in the game. However, since early stages of Forsaken, he has been removed. This is mainly because he doesn't fit with Forsaken's current roster, and it was along with permission issues. Recently, Toko asked in a poll whether Sonic.exe should return to Forsaken, with many players voting yes since he was such a popular character. However, Toko made it clear that this is not a confirmation of the character's return, nor is it a promise that the result of the poll will decide what happens. Toko also mentioned that if the character were to return, it wouldn't be as the Bloody Hedgehog. Instead, it would come back as something original and reimagined. Because of this, people have started suggesting different concepts for how the killer could look. One idea is Evil Teddy Blockspin, which is based on the Roblox item. Another concept comes from user J3I, who created a copyright-free version of Sonic.exe called Blue Devil. This version has a completely different design, but still keeps some resemblance, like the iconic blue hedgehog hair. These are just a few examples of how the character could be redesigned to fit into Forsaken without running into the same issues again. That way, the character wouldn't end up being scrapped or removed once more. What should the new design of Sonic.exe look like? There are many upcoming killers that we have yet to see in Forsaken, with most of them either being announced while some are completely forgotten about. With that, a hyped-up killer everyone wants to see is King from Combat Initiation. He is a mini-boss with a massive mech, and if he were added into Forsaken, he would have probably been one of the largest killers in the game, potentially even bigger than Sixer. King would have probably used multiple abilities using his mech, similar to how he plays in Combat Initiation, which could have made him one of the most unique killers we've seen so far. King is no longer coming to Forsaken, mentioning that him being added would require reworking multiple systems, changing internal mechanics, and even creating entirely new maps or map variants just to support his size and gameplay style. That's not something small. It would have taken a huge amount of development time away from other killers and updates. Because of that, the team decided it just wasn't worth it right now. Instead, they're focusing on bringing in a different character from Combat Initiation that can fit into Forsaken more naturally without requiring those major changes. We don't know who that replacement is yet, as they haven't revealed it, but the goal is to make sure the character still represents their original playstyle from Combat Initiation while working properly within Forsaken systems. We could see Vagabond or other bosses in-game, as he relates to Shedletsky and is most likely based on Teleman's avatar, which is Shedletsky's old abandoned account. He would have different sword abilities, and a perfect example of this is Swapsaken Swordsmaster, so Forsaken already has a base for this character if they wanted to add him. Honestly, this would be a perfect replacement, as people loved Swordsmaster and he could fit right in with the Forsaken lore. So while it's disappointing to see King get scrapped, it does make sense from a development perspective. What other Combat Initiation character do you want to see? So Forsaken are making big updates to many things coming soon. What are most excited for? Subscribe and hit the bell for more Forsakening it.